I welcome you all, our panelists. If I may just ask you to please put on your videos so that we can see you all, and then we get this rolling. Now, please, to the other members of our audience, please feel free to drop your questions in the chat box, and we'll pick them from there as we go along. So once again, you are all most welcome. Let me get the ball rolling here by asking our panelists a general question, really, so that each one gives a bit of a background to what they have done. What was your motivation for setting up your platform? Just to use that as a way of introducing the different platforms and giving our audience a bit of a view of what. Since I see Jamilu's picture first or video first, let me start with you, Jamilu, please. Go ahead. Oh, now I see Jason. Hi. And I see Maijidda. Okay, please. Jamilu, go ahead. Let me start from you, please.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Obiaya, for having me here. And it's really an honor finding myself in the midst of these great people, people that I usually see their pictures, hear them over the media. Here we are on the same panel to discuss about the entertainment industry in Nigeria. So it's really an honor, and I welcome all the members of the floor with this great event. Excuse me. So I feel this conversation is long overdue. It's very important we kind of consistently hold this kind of event where, excuse me, where we keep kind of discussing about the prospect in the entertainment industry. Going straight to your question as to what motivated us or personally pushed me to kind of conceive the idea of Northflix. 7 or 8 years ago, I was invited to have a talk at Bayero University to discuss with the graduating students about the opportunities and the prospect in the global market, or in the labor market rather. And I was privileged to be invited alongside Alinu. So we were all there as guest speakers. And fortunately or unfortunately, I overheard Alinu, discussing about all the problems they've been encountering in the northern film entertainment industry. And what I picked from all his conversations were majorly the issue of piracy and the issue of distribution, which really have been the great problem they've been having, and that's really hinder most of the investors that put in their money to produce content. And being the entrepreneur that I am, I picked interest. So I approached him and I told him, hey, I feel if these really are the problems you're facing in the industry, I feel we could put heads together and just come up with some sort of solution. And that's how it started, and since then, I started drafting a business plan around fixing that problem. So we're able to identify 3 problems. One is the issue of piracy, which bedevils most of the entertainment industry. Second is the issue of poor distribution channel, where once a producer produces content, they do not have medium to disseminate this content across the globe. And the third one is the quality of the content they're producing. So these were the kind of 3 problems we're able to identify, and we started working on it. And I have a technical partner, which I pitched the idea to, and that's how the journey began. And in 2019, June 8th, we launched Northflix. And today, we have coverage in over 100 countries across the globe. And we have over 100,000 customer base. And I will tell you that out of the 3 problems we're able to identify, we have perfectly solved 2, which is providing access to this content to be viewed across the globe. The second one is to provide security to curb piracy, which we're able to do that as well. And so the third one, which is improving on the content quality of the content, is what we're working on. And I feel it's really important. This conversation or this forum is going to enable us open up a wider conversation about content, which is the major challenge in the Nigerian entertainment industry. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jamilu. Thank you so much. I will take you up later on some of what you said, but let me turn now to Jason. Jason, just to pose the same question to you, what motivated you to start your platform, and as a way of creating some background here? I'm sorry, Jason, you're muted. Okay, great.
Thank you for that. So firstly, thank you for inviting me on the panel. Happy to contribute where I can. In 2009, 2010, as I explored the entertainment industry in Nigeria, I was primarily based in the UK, London at the time. So, from being in amongst family members, friends, the wider community, I knew that Nollywood was very popular. But also being in that community, I realized how challenging it was to find the content. You had to buy the content, somehow get it over to the streets of London, then you had to sell it. It was a bit of an arduous process. So, being a child of the internet, then my idea was this could easily be sold online, or it could be streamed. Again, streaming was very, very early at that point. So when we first launched, we spent a year plus on YouTube. But what I discovered very quickly was that YouTube, as much as an amazing global platform it gave you, and the fact that it made your costs inexpensive, it also had limitations on your monetization. So my view was very early on that you can make significant money on YouTube as an individual, but if you're going to build a company around YouTube, it's actually quite limited. At least then it was. Thankfully, I was able to attract the interest of foreign investors. They invested some money to essentially help me transition from a YouTube first video supplier to essentially building out my own platform. Um, I would say, even if you look at today, YouTube obviously is still a significant part of the global Hollywood streaming or viewing audience, but the monetization hasn't really improved dramatically. So I think the monetization of any content will always be a very large challenge, and I don't think we've really solved that even till today at the moment.
Okay, thank you very much, Jason. Once again, I'll come back to the one of monetization because that's a very important point. Maijidda, let me turn to you now with the same question. What motivated you to start your platform? Sorry, you're muted, Maijidda.
Good day, all of you, please. Thank you
Good
so
day.
much for having me here. And thank you for putting me in this on this platform with the great minds. And I'm glad that I'm back home because I'm part of the SMC family. Um, so just like what my colleagues said, you know, being a woman and being, a whole northerner, I know the challenges women and the youth have trying to access the social media. They have the passion, they have the urge to know what's going on. You find tons of them, trying to navigate through Facebook and YouTube looking for content. And we know that, the Hausa home videos are in tons. There are so many of them. And, with the decline of the, traditional, you know, um, media, our media to access the content, the decline of using the DVDs, and also the inability to connect to their TVs because of the cost of connection as well, the cable TV. That really, motivated me to come up with something that would, make it easy for youth, women, the northern general Hausa people to have the content, in their, hands using their handheld devices, basically.
Okay, thank you very much. It strikes me that all the responses so far have touched very much on making the content available, which is a very interesting point. But let me turn now to Blessed, last certainly, but not the least. Blessed, please, over to you with the same question. What motivated you to start your own platform?
Okay, I first of all want to appreciate you for this great privilege, you're giving to me to share this platform with, great minds. First of all, like Mr. Jason, I'm surprised to actually see him on this platform. He's actually my boss. I've worked with him before. He's somebody I've always admired, actually. And I'm privileged to, share the platform with you. I've always loved technology. I've always loved entertainment. You know, um, One of the things that drove me to open the platform, the Ibaka platform, is the need to create a more competitive market. Because my background is actually in technology. I've done so many stuff online. I have I've done a lot of things like ego, so many things online. So I also observed that I love entertainment because at the point I anything I have to do with entertainment like music, I used to do that before. I also coupled the fact that I'm very skilled when it comes to technology. So when I found myself in an environment where when I found myself in an environment, like I said earlier, I looked at the industry. I found out, okay, we need to create more competitive market where people can have the ability to choose, to have ability to watch movies, based on quality delivery of service. Before now, we had the market was to few platforms. So what brought that back was we needed to create more competitive market where people can actually, choose based on, quality service delivery, based on, the quality of movies. We just want to create more competitive market. We know that there's opportunity in the market. So, and the market was streamlined. So the reason why Baka was created was for us to create more competitive market, because then, the idea or the idea of the online movie streaming was new, and people were gradually becoming to understand the market. So we just see that opportunity to create more competitive market. That was the idea behind the Baka TV, because there were other platforms before Ibaka TV, but we just needed streamline. So we just needed to create more competitive market. That was why Ibaka TV was set up.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. So, like I was saying earlier, there's a striking similarity among why the different platforms have been set up, making the content accessible. Blessed has added the aspect of making it more competitive. However, in all of this, it's one thing to say, yes, we want to make it more accessible. We want to be able to set up such platforms. But I think we all know that a big challenge in our industry remains that of funding. Okay, it remains that of funding. And in spite of the fact that, well, the industry has been running for a while, some of these platforms have been running for quite a while, especially that of Jason's, it still remains a challenge. I remember reading the news about Jason deciding to move his headquarters precisely because, well, the market here is not generating sufficiently to maintain much of the cost. So let me come back to you on that one, Jason. This issue, this challenge of funding, and I would like to link that to one of the things you've done recently, this setting up of 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 this investment, if that's the right term, this investment company you're doing. If that is a link to trying to deal with this challenge, how have you dealt with it over the years? What do you plan to do? Do you see any hopes that this is going to improve, or that there are things that you will say, yes, the market is beginning to respond to this issue? Jason, please. Oh dear, it appears we've lost Jason. Okay, there you are.
No, I'm here. Yeah,
I'm sorry. Okay.
For the last, let's say, 10 years of Iroko, has primarily been essentially the macroeconomic challenges. You look at the Naira devaluation, you look at the cost of living. You know, entertainment, it's important, but it's not it's not it's not it's not essential. So because of that, you have a challenge where people are picking and choosing when they can't consume the content. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Wonderful. So the biggest challenge for Nigeria, and it's not just any service, is the fact that it's very challenging to monetize content in this part of the world. Um, you know, Iroko was always largely seen, north of 80% of our revenue coming from the diaspora. Um, but again, you know, we still operate, and we always wanted to build a big market in Nigeria. We spent a significant amount of time and energy and money trying to build the Nigeria market. The challenge just remains that it's very difficult to monetize here. Just to put into context, you know, when we really started focusing on Nigeria about 2016, you know, we priced our service at, you know, 5,000 naira per year. I think it was actually and then 5,000 naira per year was $30. You know, our service is still 5,000 naira per year because we couldn't really change it dramatically. But obviously, as you all know, like, you know, 5,000 naira per year is like $5.88 or $6 now. And you know, I think the challenge is no matter how many people you are able to serve in Nigeria, just the challenge with the naira becomes that big challenge. So we've always looked for overseas market to build this business. But obviously, you know, so to answer your question, yes, I've made some personal investments. You know, obviously, Rocco is a significant part of what I do on a day-to-day basis. But to be honest, with you, like the biggest impact that we've had, I would say, has been around the creation of Rock Studios by my wife and the monetization of that content. So, you know, selling content to a Canal Plus and building channels in English speaking Africa, French speaking Africa, France and Belgium at a time, Sky in the UK. You know, building channels and selling channels was actually way more profitable than a streaming service. And that has to do with the fact that, you know, when you sell content to a Netflix or an Amazon or even a MultiChoice or a Showmax, they have the customers, they have the significant customer bases who can afford to pay for that. So, you know, the biggest challenge will be the fact that there's so many platforms out there. So if you look at Africa, there's really only GoTV, DSTV. They're the only real entertainment platform that you have for, you know, very high quality content in Africa. And that's normal. Like, it's very rare that you have, you know, more than one or two big operators in any big market, right? If you look at French speaking Africa, it's only really Canal Plus. If you look at the UK as an example, it's only really Sky in the UK. Even if you look at the US markets, they typically only have they prefer monopolies because that's the only way content works. So if you look at a scenario where in the US, if you're in New York State, you're gonna have I think it's Xfinity. If you're in Philadelphia, you have Comcast. If you're down in Atlanta, you have like a completely different pay TV service. So typically, pay TV services require massive scale. They require significant monopoly type scenarios, and competition actually isn't a good thing in this market. And I think that's the challenge that we will all have as local operators, is the fact that there's too much competition, and we're essentially, slicing and dicing a already small market.
Do you think it's really such a small market? If, say, let's say, the economic situation improved generally across board, don't you think it'll be actually, because we're dealing with a high number of persons? So is it really small because of the current economic potential, or is there something else you're considering here?
So the largest proxy, so MultiChoice is a Johannesburg Stock Exchange listed company. Every 6 months, you can actually go there and read their reports. They estimate to have 5 million customers in Nigeria, right?
5
That is
million.
between GoTV, 5 million. That's between GoTV and DSTV.
Mm.
Of that, 88% they consider to be mass market consumers, and they're essentially on GoTV. So 88% of that 5 million are on GoTV. And of that 88%, they are on average spending about $3 a month paying for services. So $3 a month at the current exchange rate is about 2,500, 3,000 naira per month, right? And not only that, and this is really amazing about what they share, and anyone can go and check this and verify themselves. The average person who pays for GoTV in Nigeria is actually only using it for like 5.5 months in a year. So most of the year, they're actually not subscribing. They have the box, they have the decoder, but they're not actually paying for the service. So on average, this is GoTV and DSTV's financial results, say that the average person in Nigeria is making about $22 or $23 per year across 5 million people. And they've been here for 30 years, and they're a monopoly. So that tells you the upper cap of what it means to be running entertainment services successfully, and they're successful business in Nigeria. Now, to give you another example, if you look at Canal Plus, again, they're part of a publicly listed company, Vivendi. It's publicly listed information. You can go and find it out there. They say they have approximately 5 million Canal Plus Afrique subscribers in French-speaking Africa. And French-speaking Africa is almost a 200 million person population if you include Ivory Coast, DRC, Cameroon, etc. And they're seeing roughly 5 million people as well. So if you have 200 million people in French-speaking Africa, 200 or so million people in Nigeria, that's 400 million people. And of those, only 10 million are verified monopoly type businesses for entertainment, have Premier League, have League One, have World Cup, have athletics, have everything. And they only have 10 million people. That shows you the size and the scale of the potential opportunity here. And just doing my math now, that is a 2.5% number of population to actual subscribers in those two big markets of 400 million people at the moment. So we have a long way to go.
Wow. When you break it down like that, it's terrifying. It's a very minimal figure. Ooh. Okay, Blessed, let me turn to you here with the same question, please. How do you deal with the funding challenges?
Okay. For me, what I think the issue with funding challenge for OTT streaming platform like Ibaka and other platform has to do more with because our financial institution does not really understand the market. I say it because over time I've find out that even most of the funds we got in Ibaka came from diaspora. We've not been able to access funds here in Nigeria because the financial institution, the banks, the commercial banks, really don't understand the market. See, the market is viable. As a matter of fact, looking at the population of this country, even the most highly gross Nollywood movies has not penetrated 0.4% of our population. I believe the challenge have to do more like Mr. JC said something about competition in the market is not. But for me, I feel that the reason why we're having this issue is because of lack of market structure. The banks works with data, and when there's no accurate data, like I just mentioned DSTV, when you check their stock exchange, we have about almost 5 million subscribers. That's data. Banks can easily work with that to say, okay, because of your data, we can give you XYZ amount of money. But for the Nollywood industry, we don't have data, and we don't have the market is not confident, because most times before now that now about the big boys that come into the industry, which has created more market opportunity for the industry. Before now, aside cinema, which is not still adequate, because we in the whole of Nigeria, we just have about almost 60, let's say 68 theater and about 251 screen, which you can say is inadequate. But aside that, there was no opportunity for the industry. So banks were not confident, they are not confident to give loan to platform like ours, because we don't have adequate data. And this is because the market itself lack structure. The market structure should actually dictate the market behavior. The market behavior is based on, okay, now how does the market respond to the growth or the trend? For instance, I remember during the era of DVD, then there's this association, they call them, they have it in Alaba, also the Yoruba industry have association. And what they were doing then was to control the market behavior. You can't just they control the way you release your movie, they control when you release your movie. As a result of that, they're really making a lot of significant impact. Same also happened to the Yoruba industry. Then they determine to you release your movie. And as a result, I say a lot of marketers were making a lot of money. But when pay TV like DSTV came into play, most users now, instead of them to stay by the rules of the association, and the reason why they could not stay by the rules is because the association does not have, it's not being regulated by the government. So there's no strong policy, to control the industry itself. So people were able to just deassociate from the association and start selling to pay TV like DSTV. As a result of that, people didn't see the need to buy DVD anymore when they know that the movie can be seen on TV. So as a result of that, the market behavior changed. Now the viewers determine how the market moved. So the DVD number automatically died because people didn't see the need to buy it. And the reason is because most producers were selling straight. But then in the Yoruba industry, they wait for a year. After 1 year, you sell to DVD. So people have no other choice because there's scarcity. They have to buy the DVD because people went and start selling, so it affected the market. So now the market naturally died. So now the OTT streaming platform started like YouTube. Now the other option now they have is to not put in their YouTube money on movie. So the point I'm trying to make is this: banks can give loan if we don't have market structure. If you can't guarantee that when I produce a movie, I take it to cinema, I'll be able to get a return on investment. Bank won't give that loan. The kind of loan I feel that is needed for the industry is grants. Because they are commercial bank, they want to make money. Commercial bank don't give long-time loan, they give short-time loan. Maybe sometimes they give you need asset and all of that. Even they give maybe a year or two. But when you have a grant, that with the grant you have like maybe a 1-digit interest. So because in this industry you need time for you to get your return. Imagine producing a movie, pre-production, post-production. You now start taking up the marketing plan. You need time to achieve all of that. But banks don't have that time. So I feel that the reason why we have poor access to funding in this industry, number one, we don't have structure. And there's no strong government policy to infrastructure. You see, it will surprise you right now, based on the data that as of today, we just have about let's say, I think 39.9% of internet broadband penetration in Nigeria. 39.9% of broadband penetration in Nigeria. So we have a deficit of 6.1%. Now, even that means there are some areas in Nigeria, or most areas in Nigeria, that you don't get a broadband service. And when it comes to this industry, you need an effective broadband service for you to stream movies. And most of them rely on mobile broadband service. So the point I'm making is that you can't guarantee a market when there is no structure, there's no broadband services, and all of that. So my point here is this: the market is viable, but we don't have accurate data because we have not been able to invest accurately into the market. And I feel the government has a role to play, because when you talk about the broadband services, laying fiber optic cable in all of the states in Nigeria, it's a lot of money, it's a big money. So the government have a role to play. Imagine we have internet service in all of the states in Nigeria, and everybody have internet service in their home, fiber optic is laid. You know, one of the biggest mistakes the government did was to sell Nitel. That was one of the biggest mistakes. If Nitel was existing and the government invests in our internet satellites, you find out that, through Nitel, maybe invest in a fiber optic cable, other ISP company, I call them commercial ISP company, because they go there to sort out internet and bring it to Nigeria. And bringing it to Nigeria, the cost of bringing the internet here, the taxation on bringing the internet here, they transfer all this cost on the consumer. So people find it difficult to buy. The cost of buying this data is high, and what drives OTT service is internet. If internet is not sufficient and it's not available, it is not affordable, people cannot use the service. So that's why I say that the market is viable, but we have structural issue, we have regulative issue, we have market issue, and I believe if all of these issues is put in place, we'll be able to tap into the market. For me, I market share. Imagine having 2% of Nigeria, 2% of this market. We're talking about over 200 million people. 2% of 2 million people is about, we're talking about more than 2 million. 2% of 200 million is about 2 million. Times that by, let's just even say 500 naira. That's a lot of money. So I believe in market. The challenge is that the government needs to partner with the industry to really look at the industry and put in structure, put in policy, invest in internet infrastructure, and so many other things. And once that is done, you find that the bank could now be confident to now invest, because banks work with data.
Right. Thank you very much. However, I would like to link what you have just said to what Jason said earlier.
Yeah.
That if a company like DSTV, which has structure, they're able to tell you their numbers, and they say their subscriber base is only 5 million out of a country of supposedly 200 plus million people. That perhaps might not be a very attractive thing for the banks, because they say you're not reaching so many people. And of course, the problem here now is the economic aspect, because even if we were to go ahead and build all of the structure, but then we still have the situation where people cannot afford these services. Will it really deal with the problem? Anyway, I'm just throwing that out. It's just throwing that out now. Let me not hog the microphone here. Let me turn to Maijidda here. Maijidda, what is your perspective on this one? How have you dealt with the issue of funding? Sorry, you're muted. You're muted, Maijidda.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. So I said, yeah, funding is just like what some of them my colleagues said, is a challenge because we don't have data. As he said, it's a big problem, and for banks to fund such businesses, they need to see how they are going to recoup their money, how they are going to get their money back. Yes, there is a huge population, and people are really into the entertainment, and consuming entertainment is like an addiction to most of Nigerians, right? But they have to, whatever they have to do to access the contents, they will do it anyway, whether it's monetized or not monetized. So now, if you look at the YouTubers, the people who subscribers, still YouTube is still struggling to get people to pay for subscription. But because people are used to consuming the free, content, they rather just stick to the free content. So it will continue to be a challenge for the industry as long as there would be free content.
Oops, we seem to have lost Maijidda there for a moment. Now, when she comes over, we'll come back to her. Before I come to you, Jamilu, please. Jason has to leave by 12 o'clock. So let me give him the opportunity to say a final word here. I see his hand is up. Jason?
Yeah, no, I wanted to add to the banks and the funding part, right? So, one of the things that I guess Netflix, Amazon, even the cinemas have been able to demonstrate is a clear line of sight in how to monetize content. So in 2017, 2018, we needed to launch a new channel for multi-choice, for the GoTV and DSTV, Rock 2 and 3. We didn't have the money to do that. So we actually went to the Bank of Industry. We got a 500 million naira facility, but they needed like commercial bank guarantees. So I went to FCMB, went to Zenith, went to a few banks, and at first they really struggled to understand how I was able to guarantee this. I had no property, I had nothing, right? But you know, Zenith Banker, I believe the primary banker of multi-choice in Nigeria. So I was able to say, well, here's a contract with multi-choice. I'm happy to domicile the multi-choice channel revenues with you whilst the loan is outstanding, which gave them comfort for them to essentially lend us the 500 million naira. Right. And again, this was about 1.6 million dollars back in 2017, 18, whenever it was. So I think banks have to be conservative, especially in the environment we're in today. You can't really expect them to do very much when inflation is at 24% and typical lending rates of north of 30%. Um, but again, I guess that's why the BOI is so important. That's why there's creative funds. I know AfriExim have different funds which are available for people who can structure a very clear line of them being able to pay back the loans, right? And in this case, we were able to, borrow the 500 million, use that specifically on content, use that to again launch a channel on channels which performed very well on GoTV and DSTV across Africa. Within 13 months, we were able to raise sort of equity capital and pay that loan back. So I think there are definitely examples of creatives with very structured, revenue models where the banks, the BOI, the AfriExims of the world are actually more than willing to fund them. So I definitely feel that it's more of the scale of your project. Again, no one like trying to borrow 50 million naira versus trying to borrow 500 or even a billion naira. It's actually easier to find people in the billions of naira than it is to find who are more sophisticated and are willing to take the time to understand than to find someone who's trying to raise or who's going to lend you 50 to 100 million naira. So I think I wouldn't discount there are significant opportunities out there for financing, but you have to do the work and it's going to take you a fair amount of time. And even with Iroko and all of our sort of history of monetizing content, it still took us like almost a year to put that in place. But again, that was like 5 years ago, and things have definitely improved since then. And I do know that at least those who are selling directly to Netflix, they have the benefit of if Netflix say they're going to pay you, they're going to pay you. So any bank will lend against that.
I think that echoes to some extent what Blessed was saying about the need for structure, because if there's a clear structure of how the money is going to come in, it makes it more attractive to the ones who are likely to lend the money. Okay, I'm sorry, Maijidda, we lost you for a moment. I don't know if you had finished what you wanted to say. Did you have something to add, Maijidda?
Yeah, I mean,
we lost you for a moment while you were talking.
Yeah, the network thing,
Yes.
Yeah, so I think Jason has concluded what I wanted to say regarding the funding and also the ability to access the funds. As long as if you have a structure, start the process, although it will take time, but you can access the, funds. But again, even if you have the funds, content, quality content is also very important. If you look at the industry, we are struggling with the standardization of content. The qualities are of different types. So if you're looking for cheap content, you know how to get the cheap content. And to produce a movie, it's not a joke. We are still, we still have to do a lot in, this standardization of our content. If we do that, perhaps more investors will come in, fundings and also grants could come in.
Okay, thank you. Akene has dropped a comment in the chat box saying that what we should be looking at is household and not population. He's referring to the figures for DSTV. DSTV cannot have 200 million subscribers in Nigeria. Okay, that's a good point. That's a good point. But then we then need to know what is the number of households we have. That will come to at least 100 million, perhaps. Okay, Jamilu, please. Now let me turn to you with the same question on funding. How do you manage to tackle the challenge of funding?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Obiaya. You see, the issue of funding and the way the other speakers have spoken as regards to raising funding from the bank, I feel that's really delicate, and I'll tell you why. In an industry where there's no monopoly of content, when you go to YouTube, you see a lot of content, availability of content where people are uploading and giving millions of people access to watching this content for free. It's going to be very difficult for you now to approach a bank, collect money, produce a content in a market that is not so much structured. Now, I feel the major challenge is, I think, on the behavior of even the practitioners. Let me start from there. Do these practitioners really see the sales of content, acting, producing as the major means of making money in the entertainment industry? I think this is a major question we should all ask ourselves. Why do they, most of them, when you're talking about content production, when you're talking about putting heads together to make sure the industry excel, the industry gets to a point where we're all supposed to take it to, their mindset, most of them isn't there. I think they're majorly concerned about how to get the fame, how to be known globally, and of course use that popularity, to make money from probably other source, probably endorsement and what have you. Now, if at all, with the population we have, for example, let me talk to you from the market where we're playing, northern Nigeria. Across the billion native and non-native Hausa speakers across the globe. Now, since we started, our major target has been to even cover just 1% of that market, which is going to give you around 1.2 million population to be converted to paying customers, which is very doable. Now, if you have this and each subscriber is paying 1,000 naira monthly subscription, if you put everything together, monthly you'll be generating around 1.2 billion. And with 1.2 billion naira, if you're going to be pumping in around half of that money, which is around 600 million, into northern entertainment industry, this is not going to be the conversation we're having today, because you're going to change and you're going to affect in the lives of everyone in the entertainment industry. Now, why are the practitioners not looking that way? Now, if you take the practitioners, for instance, from northern Nigeria, you have, when you look at the follower base across all the social media platforms, they have followers in millions. Now, why not put heads together? These streaming platforms that you have, okay, let's produce 1, 2, 3, 4, 10 content collectively together in a month. And let's make sure that it's monopoly. These content are not going on YouTube. They're going to a specific streaming platform. and we're going to all put heads together to promote this content, to promote this platform. I'm telling you, that is where the market is going to start being structured. That is where there's going to be so much attraction from internal and external investors. But as an investor, when you come into the market and you feel most of the players are not really looking inward, they are not looking on how to make money from really the entertainment industry, rather from elsewhere. They're just using the industry more like a bridge. Okay, let me use it. That's the best way for me to be known. And once I'm known, I could use it to raise money elsewhere. That's a problem. So I feel while we're talking about government coming up with policies to enable the streaming platform and producers excel, I feel the behavioral mindset of the players in the entertainment industry needs to be adjusted. Nobody is going to do it for you. We are all investors. Myself, Jason, Hajia Maijidda, and Blessed, we are all investors in this entertainment. We're not going to act. Ideally, we're not even supposed to produce. We should just give a structure. We should just give a vehicle where producers produce. We give you money, and you use this money to distribute across all other practitioners. But now the unfortunate part is, let me give you a story. In 2021, we were approached, were written by a letter contestant for intellectual property right from Netflix. We were summoned to Copyright Commission that contesting why we're using the name and the colors we're using. They are contesting that. And I'm telling you, we had to battle it. We had a son as our legal advisor. We had to battle it, and we ended up winning. And fortunately enough for us, that puts us in the limelight where we were covered by Al Jazeera, DW, BBC, CNN, and that's where the journey started skyrocketing. Now, where is the government? Where is the government? What is the government doing? Now you have Netflix in Nigeria. Everyone is paying to watch Netflix. They are not even paying tax. Nobody is looking at them. And you're here, you're operating, you're providing job opportunities. Now, collectively, if you look at this first platform, how many job opportunities have we provided? Talking about the direct labor, talking about the money we give for the content production, all the cast, all the people in the production crew. Now, but government is not looking at it. Now, go to Kano State, where I come from. There is a TV station called Arewa 24. This is literally an NGO, and they get their money from an international NGO, the likes of MacArthur. They get money in millions of dollars every year. The shocking part of it is you cannot compete with these people because, of course, whether they make money or they do not make money, they're going to produce because they have free money. Secondly, they end up going directly to the field to even produce their content. Most of their major content are the one producing it. Now, what happened to the other producers? So I feel there should be some kind of mindset adjustment from both practitioners in the industry. They need to wake up and believe that, hey, this is an industry. This is a way where we can make money. If not, I'm telling you, just the way things are going on, you see a lot of them getting to a peak in terms of fame, being known by everyone, playing a very good role in terms of lifting the entertainment industry. But at the end of their career, they become something else. You could see a lot of them at the end of their career, for them to get money that will take care of themselves, take care of their health, is a problem. Why? Because there is no structure. If at all there is a structure, all of these things are not going to be happening. And it's a problem across the country. You know, we're not talking about only northern Nigeria. We're also talking about Nollywood, the southern part of the country. I feel there should be some sort of collaboration by all the practitioners, even the streaming platform, coming together, form a structure, because nobody is going to do it for us. We have to do it ourselves, then approach the government, let the government know, put some stringent policies so that anybody that's coming in, and the government needs to know that without us telling our stories, without us disseminating our stories, other people will come in and they will going to tell the stories, whether it's correct or it's not correct. Like the way the producers in Nigeria are so much concentrating on Netflix and Amazon Prime and all of that. how many of these producers are making it up there? How many content of Nollywood being produced by Nigerians are on Netflix? Now, if you look at the chunk majorities, are still battling on where do they take their content to, because you produce, you have hundreds of other content on YouTube. Now, that's really a problem. So we have to work towards limiting the kind of content we put out there on YouTube, because as a viewer, when you're given an option as to whether to pay money to watch content and of course have access to free content, I would rather go for the free content. Probably out of 10, I could either have one or two that's really going to meet up with my demand. So the producers have to wake up. They have to understand that if we really do not come together and hold on to a couple of streaming platforms that are going to be kind of a monopoly in terms of content, you cannot have access to content. You can only come here. And once you come here, we're going to have money in bulk. And once this company gets money, that's going to really help the industry and, of course, give you access to getting recouping your investment.
Thank you so much, Jamilu. You've made some very striking points. From what you have said, well, what you have said highlights what others have pointed out in the past about a key challenge in our industry, which is that this coming together oftentimes is difficult to make happen because people tend to function more in isolated units. So that it seems to me that if we're going to achieve what you are suggesting as a possible solution, then we must find a way of fostering this kind of coming together, a unionization perhaps, if that's the right word. What role, this is just as a follow-up to what you've said, what role do you see the various unions playing? Because I would have thought that this is something that should come from the unions, because there's so many of them in the industry, that the unions should be the ones to try to drive this. And then on the other hand, what is the industry doing in terms of really trying to drive these policies in government? I don't know if you have any ideas about that.
Well, you see, the main challenge in terms of this brokering the collaboration is the spirit of unionism in the entertainment industry. I feel that's really weak. When you look at Nollywood, when you look at Kannywood, it's extremely weak. And the reason why this union are so weak is because, as a member of a union, if at all you don't give me any benefit, I don't kind of drive any benefit from being a member, I end up losing confidence in you. So I feel the union members need to wake up to understand coming together, involving stakeholders to come together and kind of create an architecture of development for the industry. That's really going to help. I've been in the industry on Netflix. I've been in the entertainment industry for almost 5 years now, but we have never been invited. We were never being contacted by any union. I'm a business strategist by profession, and I have a couple of startups ranging from financial technology, ranging from different aspects, which I feel with my experience, other party members, like the likes of Jason, with his experience abroad, with the like of Hajjai Maijidda and all of that, blessed, coming together with our own knowledge, understanding the market, being part of the policy formulation of this union, advising them on what to do to get to get the entertainment industry restructured. I think that's the best way to do this, because I don't know how it operates or how it works in the South, but in North, we're still more or less like outsiders. When you invest hundreds of millions, to come up with a platform to provide solution where money is being spread across board, you're still conceived, you're still viewed as someone that is really coming in. You're really not part of the industry. You're really not part. You're just an investor. So whatever we're doing, you're not part of the family. we have to do it, and whatever we do, we have to pour it out there to you. So I feel that mindset needs to change. We need to come together with all our experiences, come up, create a strategy on how to balance this. And I feel, I'm sure, a couple of them are in this forum, and probably they may have opportunity to watch. The first thing we need to do is to have a sit down collectively, whether in southern Nigeria or in northern Nigeria, to see how we could kind of have a very strong bond in trying to provide a platform. But it doesn't matter the number of platforms, but it has to be an indigenous platform. It has to be an indigenous platform whereby Nigerians, and the good thing about Nigerians is once they know that a platform is theirs or whatever it is theirs, there is this patriotism, there is this nationalism in us. Yeah, for instance, you can take a look at the music industry. The music industry is where it is today because of the effort Nigerians, were able to embrace it, and Nigerians were only able to embrace it because the industry were able to come together, despite all the crisis among them, which is normal. But when you look at the core operation, they put heads together to make sure that they take the industry to where it is today. I feel same thing needs to be done in the movie industry, where all the players need to come together and believe that they have to create a structure for the industry to develop.
Thank you very much, Jamilu. Thank you very much. Let me turn now to Maijidda. This is still linked with something that Jamilu has said, which is this need to, I mean, he mentioned something about where people are going into it for personal benefit. Well, that's what everybody will do in every business. But now, why would some people prefer to go to Netflix, for instance, rather than go to any other source? And I think a good part of that is how much they get for what they are putting in there. I would like to know, and then this is linked to something you, Maijidda, said earlier, which is the aspect you are express a concern for quality. Now, many times what will drive quality is how much the people are going to be able to get out of whatever it is they put in. What kind of compensation structure do you have? Well, this is a question I'm going to ask everyone. What kind of compensation structure do you have such that if somebody brings his content to you, what can he or she expect to get back? I mean, it's a question now of how lucrative is it on these platforms for the content producer?
So there are so many different grades of contents in the market. There are home videos, there are high, HD contents, and also the process of production also determines, the cost. What you invest in production will determine how much you're going to, sell or lend your contents. Most of the contents we get or we access in the north, are more or less low budget, contents. Therefore, they will be expected to get, low a return. So the reason why people are now aiming towards, partnering with the bigger players is because they pay them better. We are, just upcoming, body, and we are yet to even access the funding and the grants that other platforms access, like the Area 24 and the giants in the industry. They have the money, even if, the content is not as much, but if the quality meets their standards. So first of all, there should be a criteria, or there should be a standard, on every content to upload, in your platform. First of all, if you have such good content, I think it will attract people. But then again, if you can watch those contents on YouTube for free, why would you come to me? Why would you come to the streaming platform and spend your money? As I said earlier, content consumption is like an addiction. people will find it wherever it is, and they have to, consume it. As you know, no matter how little, or even if it's an hour or 10 minutes they get from any platform, they are content, they are fine. That time allocated to consume that content must be fulfilled. Therefore, if, for example, streaming platforms, all the OTTs could produce very high content, high quality content, I think that we'll see, some of them migrating gradually. It's a process. But then do we have the funding? Do we have, you know, the commitment of the artists to produce the movies and bring it to us? Can we afford to pay them? Can we compete with the giants? No. So I think, as Jamilu said, we should come as a body to discuss all this and have a retreat, and also, look into how to, ways forward for the OTT in Nigeria is going to be very important.
Thank you. Thank you. Really, I think you have echoed now something Jamilu said, which is the need to say, okay, my content is only going to go on this platform as a way of driving the viewers to that. Blessed, let me turn to you with the same question, keeping in mind what Jamilu and Maijidda have said now. How do you see these issues? How do you deal with them on your own platform? Are you able to promote this, in quote, monopolization, and at the same time ensure adequate remuneration? Blessed, I think you're muted.
Is it okay now? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Just like Mr. Jamilu said, I think we have issue as regarding loyalty, patriotism from the side of the producers and the actors. And I will not blame them. The reason why we are having this issue is because they themselves, the actors, don't feel the sense of belonging. That is where the issue of structure come in. The association that he mentioned, they are not effective because there's no strong laws or policy that is governing them. Now, producers can just wake up in the morning and produce a movie. Why? Because if there's a strong association, they control when to release a movie. They control how you release your movie. Now, you mentioned the music industry. The reason why there's a breakthrough in the music industry is because there was a government then, which is the government of Obasanjo, that put laws in place to ensure that any music that will be played in the airways, in any radio station, must be our own indigenous music. Then in those days, singing more foreign songs. But the moment that law was implemented, that was what gave birth to the Nigerian music industry. It's the same challenge we have in Nigeria, in the movie industry. There is no strong law that is governing the movie industry. The association, there's no government backing. Without government backing, without a law that will help the association to be strong, you see that people will just act the way they want to act. I had one of the celebrities say something that is what's his name again? His name just skipped my mind. Now he said something. He said, now the reason why most I find it difficult to promote most our movies, like you see, most times when a producer produce a movie, sell it to a platform like ours, you find that most of the actors, they don't want to put it on their platform. The reason why, because they don't see, they don't have that. There's no they feel that when the movie, when they've been paid to play their role, that is it. But there's a level of maybe incentive or loyalty that they get from every movie they produce. They see it as their long time, like their pension for life. So there's no actor that will know that, okay, any movie I produce, I have a percentage I'm going to get from it. I will not promote that movie. And the reason why we can't have this structure is because there is not a strong association. Until we have a strong association that governs the way the Nollywood practitioners. Now, the association comprises of movie producers, movie actors, we that are into the business of distribution. Understand that, see, Even in the OTT market, without structure, it can't survive. The reason why movies are flooded on YouTube is because of lack of structure. There's nothing wrong putting movie on YouTube. It's part of the monetization model. When in the OTT, in the video on demand distribution service, we have three monetization model. We have the S void, we have the T void, the A void. Now the S void is where we operate because it's subscription based. You have the T void, which is transactional VOD on demand. People that one require that you pay to watch a movie. It's like per transaction. Why the A void is the likes of YouTube. You understand, where you just go on a platform, you watch movie for free. The reason why YouTube is flooded and they are getting the result they are getting today is because the producers shoot new movies and put it directly on YouTube. There is no association governing it. When a producer can just wake up in the morning and shoot a movie and put it on YouTube, that the result we are getting, that is the reason why we're getting the result we are getting today. Because there's nothing controlling that. And as that is happening, it's going to devalue the kind of movies, the value the movies you put on an SVOD platform. For instance, there's a particular movie I watch on YouTube, brand new movie. The same quality of movie that is on Ibaka TV. Now imagine somebody knows I can see such kind of quality on YouTube. Why will you want to subscribe on Ibaka? So these are the challenge. Now, the way movies are being streamed now is changed now because the Netflix you're talking about that have come, they've seen the market. The reason why most of these producers are patronizing them is because of still no lack of market structure, lack of market. So definitely it's going to have a ripple effect on us. And this are able to come into this industry with money because they have been able to penetrate their own markets. They have market structure. Netflix, I just Google online, Netflix have over 238 million subscribers. They are in their stock exchange. They have the money. They have the money to buy movies in a huge amount of money. Why? Because they have the subscriber base. And the subscriber base is not from Nigeria. They are just tapping into this industry because they brought the money from their own industry. Now, until we put our structure in place, and once the structure is in place, now the actors must see that, oh, they have a stake in the industry. Users must see that they have a stake in the industry. We, the practitioner, must work with them to ensure that they have a stake. Until you get to that point, they will not promote this job. They will rather be loyal to a platform like Netflix that will give them huge amount of money. Because any movie they put on Netflix, the producer of that movie, for instance, most of the movies we shoot, maybe they pay someone like Kuleremi. His name is actually Kuleremi, I remember now. Kuleremi, $1 million, or maybe 700,000, 700, or maybe $1 million. If he feature in any Netflix movie, is guarantee of getting not less than 5 to 10 million. Tell me, which one will you be loyal to? You'll be loyal to the one that will give you the money. But the reason we find ourselves in this state is because we lack patriotism, we lack loyalty. We don't believe in our own indigenous product. And the reason why it's like that, because there's no still government policy. Until government put policy in place to ensure that every content that has to be consumed must be from the indigenous platform. And the indigenous platform there must be a strong association where actors see their stake, where the actors will understand that they have a stake in any movie they produce. Means that in a lifetime, as long as that movie is being here, there's a percentage they are getting. And even the content producer too, they have a stake. They know that their movies, the reason why we can't pay much is because there's no guarantee in terms of subscriber base. And the reason is because we have not penetrated the market. And so the point I'm trying to make here is this. The reason why this is having ripple effect on platforms like Ibaka and every other OTT platform that operates in this region is because no structure. There is no strong association. There is no bond between the producers and the actors and the government. As long as if government can come in, bring in laws that will strengthen the industry, if the actors are coming and see that, oh, they have a stake in the industry, the producers see a stake in the industry, you know what? Everybody will start working in synergy. Right. So I think this is the major challenge.
Right. Actually, what you've said, because it always boils down to the money, unfortunately. Yeah. People are more likely to put their stuff where they're likely to get more money. And of course, it really boils down to that. However, something you said rather struck me, because this point of actors in a film helping to market the film, I would have thought that one way of achieving that would be to make it part of the contract. And I think that's what some filmmakers do, that if you're going to be an actor in this film, you also sign up that, well, part of your work is to market, is to help, contribute, to also advertise in the film subsequently. But let me turn now to some of the comments from the chat box. Unfortunately, we've lost Jason. Like I mentioned earlier, he had to leave at 12. He has a trip to make, so we don't have him here. But I'll just turn to some of the comments and use that also as a reminder to everyone. You can drop your questions in the chat box if you have them. Okwayemi agrees with something that was said earlier and points out that as a film editor based in Namibia from the southern part of Africa, I really concur with what the current speaker is saying. This was something that was said earlier. But within the SADC region, there's major control at the Film Commission, and they pay a lot of taxes. So what he's echoing is what was said earlier, the need for government to play a bigger role. Jamal says, in my opinion, the streaming platforms will gradually kill the cinemas, and the cinemas too are already producing by themselves, not giving new movies much opportunities. For example, King of Thieves went to the cinema, but the producer's new movie, Jagun Jagun, went to Netflix. That really is an important point when you have the exhibitors also being producers. It's part of the well, I think it links up to what was said earlier, the need for also trying to get quality content. And of course, people are trying to play on different platforms at the same time. And well, Okwemi also says that in Namibia, almost no one visits the cinema again. It's strictly Netflix, Amazon, Vimeo, and Showmax. And we have a comment from Jamal as well, that the truth is most streaming platforms ask for between HD 2K to HD 4K broadcast content that some content providers or creators cannot afford to film. Hence, most content creators end up on YouTube with their 720p or 1080 video content. Can there be a streaming platform that can offer to post your video content in any format and quality? Let me throw that question to our panelists. Jamal's question, can there be a streaming platform that can offer to post your video content in any format and quality? Jida, what do you have to say about that? You spoke about quality, importance of quality earlier.
Oh yeah. I mean, the technology is there, and that's what also the same other platforms are using. Most of our structures use HD, and I think HD is the standard. Um, accepted standard. I think that we could be able to take that. You know, um, uh, you know, um, Blessed also mentioned that you know taking the content to YouTube plays a major role in is a setback to the industry. I quite agree with him, because if you look at it, if I produce my content and I know that for sure I will get my some money back, by the end of the month, why would I send my content to a streaming platform when I know they might not even pay me the amount I'm going to raise? Another thing is also the issue of exclusivity. You have a content from a producer on your platform, and you might end up seeing it on YouTube. If you don't have the means to buy the movie, exclusively, it might end up being shared between the YouTube and also your platform. So the YouTube wins while you lose your money. And also the issue of piracy or screen recording also is a big threat, because the subscribers might find a way to take some of the content you have, double record it, even if they can't record it directly, but they can use, take some of your trailers and take it to YouTube just to make money. So, I really think that there has to be a regulatory body to look into this threats to the OTT or this upcoming new way to the new to media, because eventually people will migrate from even going to the cinemas as one of the uh, one of the audience said, to the streaming platform. No one has time to go and sit in the cinema, spend hours where you know that you can pause your movie, watch at your own pace. Gradually everybody will have to move to the streaming services. How we are going to get it better remains a challenge.
Let me just take you up. One question on what you said, the question of exclusivity. I would have thought that when a platform signs a contract with a content producer, that there will be that agreement that we're going to show your film, even if one is not buying the film outright. But the agreement would be, we're going to show this film for this period, and within this period, you can't put it anywhere else. There's room for that, isn't there?
Yes, there is. Yes, there is. There are some that stick to that, because I told you that the market is still immature.
Okay.
And
Okay.
the producers might send it to someone who is going to sell it. So it's not a straightforward market, especially in the northern Nigeria.
Right.
You find someone who is
Okay. So,
marketing who doesn't even have the right, but is marketing the content. And then you
right.
find out that someone has taken part of the content and send it to the YouTube.
Okay. Okay. So what you're really indicating now is that they break the contract, they abuse the contract, in other words. Okay. That's clear.
Yes, definitely
Well,
there's an abuse of contract.
exactly.
So I think the way forward is for us to have our own originals, and having your own original content requires funding, requires collaboration, requires an intervention, so to say.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Opeyemi raises the question that could the problem be the capitalist system that Nigeria is in? Is this what is making it difficult for government to step in? Jamilu, what do you say to that? Is it our system that stops the government from stepping in?
Even in a capitalist state, governments only allow the business activities, but at the same time, government formulates policies that favor those individuals, especially from international threats. As I mentioned earlier, government needs to kind of understand the kind of money Nigeria is losing, out of all the subscribers. And I'm referring to, if you take, for example, from DSTV to Netflix to Amazon, all of these are international companies that are playing vital role, or they are the major players in the entertainment industry. And whatever money they make, of course, they're definitely taking it outside the country, and this is where the government needs to come on board to kind of come up with policies. Not really, of course, you need companies like that in your country, but you have to come up with policies that favor your own citizen. Policies like monopoly, in terms of making sure there are content that really kind of are being, let's say, financed in terms of intervention, providing intervention where you could compete comfortably with these giant companies. As the earlier speakers mentioned, when you have, let's say, 10, 20, 50 million to produce, and you have the like of Netflix providing 500 million to produce a content, you cannot compete. And if you feel you're putting in or investing 10, 20, 50 million to produce a feature-length movie, there are other people that are there producing for YouTube, and when you look at the return, the kind of money they make, it's 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 really not something to write home about, you know. So it's even confusing sometimes when you see people really pushing in their content on YouTube, and if you see what they are getting in terms of the return on their investment, it's scary, you know. And it kind of puts you under serious scrutiny as to what exactly are we doing, what kind of industry are we finding ourselves, how are these people making money? Because if you look at what has been invested to produce such content and what they're able to get back in terms of return from YouTube, you know, it's a trash. I will tell you this. So I feel even if we're in a capitalist state, government needs to come up with some sort of policies that really favor its citizens, you know, by providing some sort of interventions, by providing some really, really tax holiday to these companies, and providing some sort of heavy tax on the internationals in order for the locals to excel. I feel government needs to come in, government needs to play a vital role.
Thank you very much. Those are some very good suggestions. Thank you. Well, Blessed, this question from Ekene is for you, I believe. He says, what exactly is the structure we're talking about? What you're asking for is for the customers not to have freedom of choice, which will lead us to authoritarianism. It's not about patriotism. People are not listening to Nigerian music because of patriotism, but the quality. Pay more and people will give you good content. Do you have anything you would like to say to that, Blessed?
Okay, yeah, yes. Let me respond to that. Okay, so when I talk about structure, market structure, 1 minute, please. I'm trying to put on my camera. So when I talk about market structure, I'm not talking about market monopoly. I'm not trying to say, oh, the government must force the viewers. See, when there's a structure, the structure will dictate the behavior of the viewers. Video on demand on its own gives customer the choice to select whatever movie they want, right? But when there is no structure, let me give you a practical example. The impact of lack of market structure is the reason why we can't penetrate. The issue is not quality. Like for instance, platform, we have HD, we have 4K movie content. As a matter of fact, many homes can stream movies on 4K in Nigeria. And in terms of quality of movies, before Netflix came into Nigeria, movies were being released in cinema, and they were selling those movies to us. You get what I'm saying? But the moment Netflix came, they were able to pay more, right? They rather give the movies to Netflix because Netflix can pay more. Do you know the reason why people put movies on YouTube? The reason why they put movies on YouTube right now is because number one, increase in dollar. Before, when dollar was 200 or 300 and something, people were not doing that. They can't dare it because they know that they won't get their return. But they know that when they put the movies on YouTube and they sell to DSTV, they'll get their return. They are not really concerned about, for instance, a movie costs $4-5 million, right? And you're able to make like $43,000 on the movie. You've made almost your capital. You sell it to DSTV, maybe showcase. You make profits. Now, the market behavior. Now, because there's no structure, that movie normally would have gone through the market peer structure. For instance, cinema. After cinema comes the Ibaka. After or any streaming platform, any SVOD platform. After SVOD platform, it goes to AVOD platform. The reason why we have this different monetization structure is to help structure the market, the model, like your money, how you make money. When you put a movie on an AVOD platform, AVOD cannot compete. SVOD can't compete with AVOD. Because when you put a movie on AVOD platform like YouTube, it's free. And when it's free, why would I want to subscribe? So it's not about monopoly. It's about putting structure in place for people to say, okay, if you want to watch a movie, when this movie comes, it's not quality. You understand what I'm saying? If there is structure, we'll get the necessary subscriber base to buy any quality movie. But when there's no structure, we won't be able to penetrate the market, to get the kind of subscribers, that we need for us to be able to raise the money to buy movies. But when there's no structure, you just bypass the flow. It's not going on SVOD, you put on an AVOD, and you expect the same movie or that kind of movie to be on SVOD platform, and you think people will want to go there. Understand they are both channels, but the difference is that one requires subscription to pay subscription, while the other one does not require for you to pay subscription. So if that is giving you the same quality of movie, and you are competing with such kind of platform, of course, there'll be decline in revenue when it comes to SVOD. So the point, it's not about trying to monopolize the market. It's about putting the structure in place whereby we create, whereby these movies, goes through the flow, the market flow. Now it goes through an SVOD platform first, maybe after a year, depending on the contract you have with the producers. Then after that, it goes to an AVOD platform like YouTube. At that point, it creates a steady market, a healthy market, whereby people know, okay, whether the movie is an SVOD, people that will not still watch it. But right now, those that would have naturally subscribed for SVOD, because now it's on AVOD, they will go to SVOD platform. So now that market is what's dictating. And over time, the market will go down. I'm talking about the SVOD platform. So what I mean, I'm not talking about monopolizing the market. I'm just talking about creating a structure. You understand what I'm saying? Whereby this movie will not put it on a platform that has more advantage than the other markets. Understand that having multiple markets is important, because let me give you a scenario. There was a time that YouTube, we are premium YouTube partner. So we've been for long. So I can tell you about YouTube. There was a time that YouTube had issue with some of the advertisers. That period, there was decline in revenue. Now imagine that time happen again. Where would they run back to? Or there was a time that the dollar was not to 700. Imagine now government put the right stuff in place. Dollar dropped to $300 or 300 per dollar. What will happen to producers putting their movies on YouTube? That will be the end. So end of the day, they've been able to kill the AVOD platform and SVOD platform. So we are saying that when there's a structure, it's not about taking control of the markets. It's about control of the behavior. Or when the movie comes, when people know that, okay, this movie once is new, it goes first to an SVOD platform. After it has spent the time and maybe paying on the contract, then before it goes on AVOD platform, then people will respond to that flow. That's what I mean.
Thank you very much. Well, let me throw this other question to you, and perhaps you can use that opportunity to explain what you mean by AVOD and SVOD, because I think some people may not quite understand what those terms refer to. A question here is asking, is video on demand the same as video streaming? So maybe you could help us out with that one, and then also break down what exactly is meant by SVOD and AVOD, if you don't mind, Blessed.
Okay. So now what I mean by SVOD simply means video on demand. Is a term used to describe the way content is being distributed. We have two kind of OTT distribution, streaming distribution. We have video on demand, and we have live streaming. Do you understand? So it's just explain how content is being distributed over the internet. So SVOD, unlike the normal traditional TV, like pay TV and DSTV, content on DSTV, they are program content. They are that you don't have the power to select what you want to watch, how to watch, which device to watch, and all of that is programmed. So when the movie is programmed to be played by 8 p.m., if you don't go there to watch by 8 p.m., you miss it. But for video on demand gives you an option to select any movie of your choice, when you want to watch it, how you want to watch it. It gives you a lot of options. On video on demand, you can select the quality of your movies. On video on demand, you can select whichever movie you want to watch. It gives you option to select wherever movie. That's what it's called, video on demand. Based on user demand, you can watch any movie of your choice. Now, we now have the various monetization under video on demand. Video on demand is a kind of technology that talks about how content is distributed over the top of an existing network. Do you understand? Over the top of an existing internet provider, like MTN, Globalcom, any internet provider. So you're something you can access using your phone, internet-enabled device. So now this content now that you access has different kind of monetization model. The monetization model, one of which is called SVOD. SVOD means subscription based on video on demand. Subscription based means that for you to access this movie, that you can any movie of your choice, you have to first of all subscribe on the platform. So when you subscribe on the platform, then you have access to watch the movie. Now, for you to now watch the movie after you have access to watch the movie, you must have an internet. If I even need an internet to access it, so that needs access. You know, you pay for the access. Now, TVOD is transactional video on demand. The transactional means that instead of it now for SVOD, when you subscribe to have access, it gives you access to all the catalog of movies. So if the platform has 1,000 movies, when you subscribe, it gives you access to watch all the 1,000 movies. But when it comes to TVOD only gives you access to watch one movie at a time. So you pay for per movie. So for instance, you log into a TVOD platform, they have King of Boys, they have different movies. You can only pay for one at a go. So that's the meaning of TVOD. Then we now have AVOD, which is advert based. Now, these are platforms that does not require subscription for you to log in. These are platforms you can log in and watch movies, just like we have the old traditional NTA Silverbird channel, where you just see the antenna and you are watching for free, and when you are watching, they complement it with adverts. So that's how TVOD is. It is. That's what AVOD is when it comes to OTT. So AVOD, example of YouTube, you don't need to create an account. Just go there and watch. So when you watch this movie, you see advert displays in the movie. So the owner of this content money through adverts.
Thank you so very much. Thank you so very much. I think anyone who didn't have that before now has it very clear indeed. Now, Lukoya is asking, do Netflix and other big players pay producers to produce movies for them? If they do, this is a huge problem in our hands because they have the fans to play around with. I think I can respond to that one. Yes, they do have different options. You can take your film to them and they pay you for it for a certain period, or they can actually pay people to make the films. So that these are the ones they refer to as Netflix originals because they were produced specifically for Netflix. So yes, that possibility does exist. We have a question here, a rather interesting one from Jennifer. Jennifer is asking, can the major actors be highlighted who play a vital role in collaboration for standardization of the policies? Jamilu, can I throw this one to you, please? Who are those you think could play or that play a vital role in collaboration for standardizing policies?
Can you take that again, please?
That Jennifer is asking, can we highlight the major actors that play a vital role in collaboration in order to standardize policies? Who are the key players here? Who are those we should be focusing on?
I feel is the union, the association. You know, we have different associations. We have MOPAN, we have guilds of actors. We have a lot of associations, and I feel the best thing is one, especially the MOPAN, should invite other members or other associations, and of course other stakeholders, you know, like the investors and other practitioners to come together. One is to even have a forum such as this to come up with all the problems, you know, to enable all the people from outside the industry, you know, to tell them what exactly the problems are. Now, understanding the problems, you know, that will enable them to start thinking on, okay, what could be done, you know, to provide solutions. At the same time, unless if that is done well, you know, they cannot even approach the government, and that's why you see the government come in and goes out without laying so much emphasis in the entertainment industry because there's not so much structure, as mentioned by Blessed earlier. So I feel The first thing is from within, the associations should come together and identify all these problems and come up with solutions. And the second thing is to approach the government and advise the government on what to do, because government wouldn't know what exactly is going on in the entertainment industry. They wouldn't know what the problems are, unless if they are really articulated, put together, and approach the government for some sort of policy formulations. And at the same time, those associations should be able to identify both local and international investors, try to give confidence to these people. You know, I know we have investors out there. When you look at how lucrative this entertainment industry is, you look at the number of people viewing it, whether they pay in money to view or they're consuming this content for free. The bottom line is we have a chunk number of people that are patronizing this industry. So the best thing is, instead of the high percentage of the viewers that are consuming it for free, what can we do to kind of control that, reduce? Because you pump in money, you use money to produce, it doesn't make any sense for a producer to have his content being viewed for free. So we have to come together and do this. And of course, probably after that, putting heads together with the players, with the government, with probably international investors, come up with some sort of reform, especially psychological reform, letting people understand that, look, there's a content, just the way you pay in Netflix to watch, you have to pay to watch this local content, because any which ways, you have to follow any other content to any platform and you have to pay money to watch it. So I think that's the starting point. And if this is done well, I feel in short period of time, we're going to have a change of narrative. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jamilu. Thank you. Maijidda, let me throw this question to you. It's a question from Stephen. Stephen says, I checked on Rotten Tomato recently and observed that most of the 10 best movies of 2023 didn't have known faces. That says a lot. Faces do not guarantee quantity. Against a situation in Nigeria where almost every platform has its face, and I suppose it means I now charge outrageous amounts to be on your project. How do we navigate around these obstacles or gatekeepers in the industry, especially as upcoming filmmakers who are schooled in the art and have done a couple of projects on the ground, but desire to break through the mainstream? I think what Stephen is asking here is, well, that many times the platforms want to see a known face, or the cinemas want to see a known face before they accept the film. How do we break this? Whereas films do well even without known faces. I don't know if you have an answer to this or suggestion, Maijidda. This will go around everybody anyhow.
Yeah, I mean, Stephen is right. People, subscribers would like to see the faces, familiar faces, or the famous faces for them to pay for it. I don't think that's very important. What matters is the content, is the quality, and the messaging that matters. Once you have a very good trailer, that's all it takes. I don't think that. But also, it's important sometimes to have the famous faces, because some people, are attracted to them, so to say, or they are expecting to watch their movies because they know they've delivered in the past, and they'll be looking forward to watch some of their contents. Yes, most of the contents, we have, you find that there is likely one or two famous faces, they, in the movies, so to say. But again, there are other upcoming artists who are doing brilliant, who are very good, exceptional. That does not mean that they will not find their ways. So that's why you have to balance, balance it up. Have the content with the famous faces, and also try as much as possible to promote the upcoming faces. because they will become famous eventually.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. I think that's a very strong point you've made. The importance of the content. People always look for good stories. Okay. Well, we'll take a last question from Jamal. This can go around everybody. And Jamal is asking, why don't streaming platforms in Nigeria have reality shows on them, just like they have movies? Perhaps we can start with you, Blessed. Did you get the question?
Yeah.
Okay, it's a tough one, right?
Yes, you said why don't streaming platforms?
Why don't streaming
Okay,
exactly
streaming.
have reality shows?
No,
In
there
the
are some
same way?
streaming No, there are some streaming platforms that actually have reality shows. You know, it depends. Or if you are maybe we're talking about the domestic streaming platform.
Exactly. He's referring to the
Okay.
Nigerian streaming platforms, yes.
Well, well, it depends. For Ibaka, let me just use Ibaka. The reason why we have not started that genre of content for now is because for us who feel we've not been able to really break through in the feature content yet. You know, when you get to a point where you want to expand your content catalog, at least it's something that you have to take gradually. You start from feature content. Even remember, we also have short films, you know, then reality shows. Like I know DSTV does reality shows. They are on their Showmax, they have that. But for us, Ibaka, we've not dived into that yet because we feel that we've not been able to exhaust the feature-length movie yet before going to reality movies, reality content.
Okay, thank you. Jamilu, would you like to respond also to that question?
Yes. We have plans as to doing that because when we came in earlier, our focus has been to allow producers, just give them idea, work with some of our experts, to allow them produce content. But since when we got to a point where we had to join hands with them to produce, I think we started produce our own original content early this year, which we're already producing some TV series. We have a talk show. So we also have a reality show in the pipeline. So hopefully by probably end of this year or early next year, we should have a reality show on Netflix.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Maijidda, you want to answer that question as well?
Yes, very much so. We are also working on that. Also producing a reality show requires having so many famous faces and, not just one or two. And it requires a lot of resources, financial resources, human resources, and we are really looking into that. We have already started working on that. Actually, we didn't want to say it, but we've gone far, and we are hopeful that that would also change the dynamics.
Okay, thank you so much. Well, Greg is asking if we can have the opportunity to discuss some points. I'm afraid, Greg, our time is up. Sorry about that. If you want to drop a quick question for the panelists to respond to, that'll be fine. But we won't have much time for discussion. We're supposed to close by 1. Okay, thank you so much. Now, I don't know if our panelists want to say one final word before we go. We just have a few minutes left. Okay, Greg is asking if transparency is an issue. Why? So maybe you can say a final word, our panelists, and then you can say something touch on Greg's question, if you have anything to say there. Greg says transparency is an issue. Why is that? And then you can just say a final word as well, please. So let's start with Maijidda, please.
Sorry, I didn't get the question.
I said well, Greg asked a question, and I said, well, if you also have a final word to say, not related to Greg's question, please go ahead. But Greg is asking, why is transparency an issue in our industry? He said it's easy for Netflix and YouTube to easily divide the industry and get their way at the detriment of our industry, because transparency is an issue in our industry.
I think I will leave that to Blessed and Jamilu, but I would like to
Okay.
appreciate our artists and our producers in the North. We know that things are tough. You know, people are trying to, you know, put food to their, you know, plates. And even, I mean, to provide, you know, food to their homes. We know it's tough. It's tough for everybody. It's tough for businesses here in Nigeria. We pray that it gets better. We encourage them, and we see them. We see their efforts. We know that it's not a booming. I mean, it's not a rewarding time for all of us, but we are hopeful and optimistic that it will get better,
Okay.
especially with collaboration and with intervention mentioned earlier. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Maijidda. Jamilu,
Well,
would you like to say something
well,
to? Yes, please, go ahead.
Well, on the issue of transparency, you know, I feel, you know, these are all issues across all industries. You know, you cannot take that away. You know, there are always good eggs and bad eggs, you know. But I feel when you look at the bigger picture, you know, to some extent, some people could still come together, some people could still play a role, you know, in making sure there's some level of transparency in terms of probably content purchase, you know, and all of that. And of course, you're in business, you know, yeah, but everyone is trying to be shrewd, you know, in terms of negotiations, in terms of business dealing. What I would just advise the person asking the question is you just have to make sure you have your legal documents airtight, you know, and when you come to negotiations, you have to make sure you've done that professionally. I think that's really going to help. And lastly, I would just want to extend my appreciation also to you guys for putting this together. You know, given a platform where we all come together to air some of our experiences and advices to the industry. And of course, the opportunity to meet these great people, Blessed, Jason, and Maijidda. And I hope it's not going to stop here. You know, even after this, we take it up. Probably after this, we share our contact to see what we can do. Because honestly, we are the investors. We have to put together some initiative to see how we could better the industry. And also, I would say kudos to the players in the industry, you know, for really consistently pulling and doing all they have to do, you know, to make sure the industry is still relevant, despite not making so much money. But of course, if done properly, there's going to be consistency in terms of making money in the industry. Because as I mentioned earlier, where people, you know, they play so much role after decades of their contribution in the industry, they end up not getting anything at the end of the day when they retire. Or when they're not able to either act or produce anymore, they become something else. You know, they will start seeking for support. I think the best way to do that is to put up a structure where one could make a lifetime money. There's consistency in making money. There are ventures where people could make investments in. There is a security for the practitioners in the industry. Unless if structure is put in place, we're going to continue having these same issues, of course. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jamilu. Thank you. Blessed, one last word and the issue of transparency.
Okay, just like Mr. Jamilu said, transparency in business is very important. But this issue, the only way to solve issues like that is just to ensure that You have your contract in place. Get a good lawyer that reviews every contract, the details of the contract before you go into any deals with either content providers or distributors and all of that. But I want to also see it from another perspective. You know, if the transparency, when there's transparency within the industry also, it brings synergy, it brings togetherness. And like I said, I'm just looking forward to a time where all the practitioners in the industry, I'm talking about the filmmakers, the actors, the producers, we that are into the business of film distribution, we can be open to ourselves, because when there's synergy, it brings about growth. When an actors understand that, okay, when I produce a movie, when I act in a movie, it does not just end in just acting. I want to be part of the distribution process. And that can only happen when the or we start coming up with initiative like giving royalty to actors mostly. You know, I'm looking forward to that. You know, so I believe transparency in terms of doing. I think, like I said, one of the solutions is just, you know, to create a solution that make them know that, okay, they can get royalty from every movies that they produce. I believe with that, you know, the industry will open up, and most of these actors will start, you know, knowing that, okay, they have a stake in the distribution process. Thank you so much for, you know, inviting me, you know, on this platform. I really appreciate everyone that participated in this platform. And I believe, like Mr. Jamilu said, if we can all come together and work as one, you know, we synergize to come up with a platform. I mean, as a body, like a regulatory body, where we can come up with informed decision that will move the industry to the next level. So I'm looking forward to that, and I'm looking forward to working with one of us. Thank you so much.
So much. Thank you all very much. Greg is asking a question further about, but we will not be able to take it. But it's something to think about, because his concern really was why, as he says, they do not announce the cost of a movie, the amount paid for it, the marketing budget, how much it costs, etc., like in the foreign markets. That is the only way to grow. Trust me, he says. Okay, so it's a useful thing to think about, but it's all part of the transparency we're talking about. Unfortunately, we're out of time now. Let me thank our panelists very much. Blessed, Maijidda, and Jamilu, thank you so much. And in absentia, Jason, thank you so much for giving us so much of your time and experience. We hope that we'll be able to do a lot with this information you've given us. Really, a lot needs to be done, and I think it falls on all of us. Let me also thank our participants for being present. Thank you so much, and thank you for your questions. Do have a nice rest of the day and a great week ahead. All the best. Thank you.
Welcome to the July